Rima Salah, my goodness. We are so fortunate to have Rima here. If you come up and ask her, she was born in Jerusalem. But of course, right now, she's living right across the street from the United Nations, and she has been active in UNICEF for decades, mostly working in southern parts of sub-Saharan Africa, where she had much of the time that she spent as part of UNICEF. But now she is the chairman of the Early Childhood Peace Consortium, and I probably will leave it to her to actually talk with you directly about what the vision statement is, what the missions are, and what our objectives are. But we need to reduce violence. We need to take care of our children, and we need to make a difference and empower everyone to be part of this effort that is so needed. So, Professor Rima Salah, who's also on our faculty at the Child Study Center, thank you for being here, and thank you for your friendship.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Leckman, distinguished guests and participants, friends and colleagues. It is my great pleasure to be with you this morning. I'm honored to welcome you on behalf of the Early Childhood Peace Consortium, ECPC, its executive committee, and its advisory group. All my colleagues are here. I invite you, the executive committee and the advisory group of ECPC, to stand up, please. Thank you. Let's give them. Thank you. I would like to express my deepest appreciation to Yale University, in particular the Child Study Center, Professor Leckman, for hosting such an important and timely conference. My appreciation also goes to Queen's University, Professor Paul Connolly, and to UNICEF, and we're very happy to have Dr. Pia Brito with us today. I wish also to express my sincere gratitude to all of you. Your presence here is a testimony of your commitment to the cause of peace and the well-being of children and their family. I'm privileged to have the opportunity to talk to you on building a world of peace, the promise of the Early Childhood Peace Consortium. Distinguished participants, friends, and colleagues, we are living in a critical global context marked by unprecedented threats to peace and security, requiring a more concerted and effective synergy by the international community to prevent and minimize the dangers associated with wars and armed conflicts and their devastating consequences on society. Insecurity, criminal violence, and political violence have become a primary development challenge of our time. The recent published World Bank and United Nations report, Pathways for Peace, Inclusive Approaches to Preventive Violent Conflict, projects that more than half of the people living in poverty will be found in countries affected by high levels of violence by 2030. Today, millions of families find themselves trapped in situations of war and violent conflict that disrupt the fabric of their societies and compromise the very foundation of their institutions. This is compounded by other global challenges such as climate change and natural disasters. As revealed by a new report by Save the Children, more children than ever before, at least 357 million children globally, are now living in areas affected by high-intensity conflict, where they could be vulnerable to the United Nations' 6 grave violations, and they are killing and maiming, recruitment and use of children, sexual violence, abduction, attacks on schools and hospitals, and denial of humanitarian assistance. When their homes and communities are no more safe havens, and when the streets become battlefields, families and their children flee for their lives in search of safety in the neighboring countries or thousands of miles away from their homeland. According to UNICEF publication in 2016, uprooted the growing crisis for refugee and migrant children, 50 million children have migrated across borders or have been forcibly displaced, and 28 million children have been uprooted by horrific violence. Also, every year, hundreds of millions of children are exposed to and are victims of domestic violence, many of them exposed at an early age. Yes, friends, it is the story of lost childhood. But what is more alarming and should concern us is the lasting negative impact of deprivation and violence, physical and structural, on young children and its detrimental effect on their development. Exposure to violence at an early age is causally related to a broad range of negative outcomes across the life of the children, and also affect them, affect their families and their communities. Luckily, advances in development neuroscience are causing a revolutionary shift in the way we think about child development as we learn about the impact of both positive and negative experiences and the interplay of experiences on the development of the brain. And you will hear about this later from Dr. Pia Brito and others. So this new knowledge is important because it holds significant implication for the future of millions of children living in fragile contexts worldwide, as well on our thinking about creating a culture of peace and sustaining peace in the world. The good news is that the emerging science heralds a new era with windows of opportunities to contribute to sustainable peace through investment in the positive development of young children. In these critical times, there is insufficient investments in the early years of life as a path to peace at home, in the community and in society, and as a path to social transformation and violence prevention. However, in this emerging new era of building a world of peace and development, we have now every opportunity to make this transformative shift and elevate early childhood development on the peace and development agenda. It is time to raise the voice of science. We have the science. How do we raise this voice of science so that it meets the voice of we, the peoples of the United Nations, who, signing the United Nations Charter in 1945, were determined to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war and to unite their strength to maintain peace and security in the world. As the United Nations also continues its journey to further advance its ideal and fulfill its goals, in the spirit of its charter, it adopted in November 1997 the groundbreaking resolution proclaiming the year 2000 as the International Year for the Culture of Peace. And we are very lucky to have with us today Ambassador Anwar al-Shadri, who is the father and the mother of this resolution. Action on the culture of peace, subsequent resolutions also were adopted every year and have reaffirmed the commitment of the United Nations to build and promote the culture of peace. But in 2015, the international community, as you know, witnessed the triumph of the adoption of 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, and the New York Declaration for Refugees and Migrants, and the Sustaining Peace Resolution. The adoption of the Transformative Development Agenda was in particular a historic moment for children, as for the first time it recognized the importance of early childhood development as to drive the transformation, as Secretary General Ban Ki-moon said, the then Secretary General, it drives the transformation we hope to achieve in the next 15 years. Also, you will hear today about the New York Declaration for Refugees and Migrants that was adopted in September 2016, and member states have agreed to support early childhood development for refugee children. And the real breakthrough came with the adoption of the Resolution 2282 on sustaining peace, which emphasized the importance of a comprehensive approach to sustaining peace, particularly through the prevention of conflict and addressing its root causes, and reaffirming the important role of every member of society, women, youth, families, children, and communities in preventing conflict and in building sustaining peace. Also in 2017, another milestone was achieved at the United Nations General Assembly. A high-level forum on the culture of peace was convened with the theme, Sowing the Seeds of the Culture of Peace, Early Childhood Development is the Beginning. As a result, a UN Resolution 137 was adopted, which links early childhood to ensure a culture of peace. In this new era of peace, that promotes the participation of all members of society in peace-building efforts, it became clear and essential to shape innovative and transformative approaches that engage families, parents, and children in the service of peace. To answer this call for action, the Early Childhood Peace Consortium was formed and launched at UNICEF in 2013 to join forces with the international community to advance global and national efforts to prevent violence and build peace through the transformative power of early childhood development. Its founding members are here. They include, of course, Yale University, and we are here on the, and also ASHEV, the Mother Child Education Foundation. It all started there. It all started in Turkey. And of course, UNICEF and the United Nations Alliance of Civilization and Early Years from Northern Ireland. And we were then joined by other organizations, and we're very happy to have them with us. It also brought together this consortium partners from multiple sectors, including civil society, the social and mass media, government officials, multi- and bilateral agencies, as well as practitioners, which is very important, and academia. Its vision, the vision of the early childhood development, is to create an inclusive movement for peace, social justice, and prevention of violence through using evidence-informed early childhood development strategy. The mission of the Early Childhood Peace Consortium is founded on the idea that the global community must address the root causes of violence and conflict, and that children and families can be agents for peace. It has set its goals. The goals are a little ambitious, but there is nothing ambitious for the cause of peace and children. Our goal is to bring the contribution of science on early childhood development as a path to peace to the international community debate on peace building and sustaining peace. Also to engage with governments, member states, and mobilize increased investment in the early years of life and implement more effective policies and practices ensuring that early childhood programs are essential in promoting social cohesion and sustaining peace. And we do this, we are now discussing, and Professor and Dr. Anwar al-Chaudhry will tell us more about it later, about the resolution. But also to advocate universal access to early childhood program, and particularly to strengthen partnership for children and with all of you to advance the cause of peace and children. To promote, most importantly, is to promote and advance and advocate the research and the programs of the consortium members and you will hear about this later from Queen's University and others, and the programs that are taking place in many areas of the globe that contribute in strengthening social cohesion and build peace in society. Friends and colleagues, most importantly, is to raise the voices of families and parents and children who toil every day in their torn villages, in their refugee camps, to anchor peace in their homes and communities. We're going to bring their voices to our meetings, in our websites, and in all our discussions. And today we will have a child this afternoon. Just to say, distinguished participant friends and colleagues, there is no better time than now for all of us to unite our strength, to erect the building blocks of peaceful future for all children. Most importantly, we want you to join our movement and let us accompany parents to raise their children and to raise their children so that they will be the drivers of a world of peace. Let us do it all together, and the time is now. Thank you very much.